Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. What would Jesus do when your neighbor was done hearing your pushy street preaching sermon? HAWK TUAH on her calf, of course. Neighborhood spat, and it led to just that. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
Judge, and that's what I was going to ask, what's the easiest way? I have it on my computer. I don't know if it's easy. I'm still connected to the Zoom.
You can share a screen.
Okay.
You can share a screen for the
That'll
video.
work then, Judge.
Okay, anything else?
And we're gonna stipulate to the video, I've seen it, and I believe it's representation of what happened, right?
As far as I know.
Okay, so the parties are stipulating to the admission of the video and Ms. Manarino, just for the record, so can you tell me what is the video of it? Is it surveillance camera from a home, ring video?
Yes, it's a security camera from Ms. Ross's residence. It looks like it's from like a second floor above the roof line, that shows her front yard, which is where the incident occurred.
Okay, and so that'll be admitted as exhibit 1. Are there any other exhibits that?
At the moment, no, just that.
Okay, all right, call your first witness.
Your Honor, the people call Bonnie Ross.
Well, let me ask this. I guess we should start at the beginning. Are there opening statements?
Your Honor, people would waive opening.
I'll wait too.
Okay, Ms. Frost, come on up to the witness stand. And you're gonna go around, watch your step. There's 2 stairs when you come up there, okay? And then you're going to face me. And if you can just set your belongings down for a moment, no sitting yet. I need to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, you do.
Okay, ma'am, if you can have a seat in that witness chair and pull that microphone close to your face so that I can hear you and the court reporter can hear you. So you want to be close to the microphone. And if you can start by saying your first and last name and then spelling your first and last name.
My name's
Your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Ross, I want to draw your attention to the evening of June 14th of 2023. At approximately 6:02 p.m., do you recall where you were?
Yes, I was out in my front yard.
And what street do you reside on? And that's within the city of Taylor?
Yes, it is.
When you were in your front yard at approximately 6:02 p.m., what were you doing?
I was weeding and getting ready to put down the sod.
Initially, were you alone in your yard, or was anyone else present?
I was alone, but there was also my neighbor that was on her porch.
And who was the neighbor that was on her porch? And just after 6:02 p.m., did anyone else arrive in your yard?
My son did. He came from the upstairs because he could hear Mr. Andrews yelling at him.
Okay, so was Mr. Andrews at some point in your yard?
Yes.
And
He was on the sidewalk in front of my house and kind of stepping, I guess, on the front of my lawn. He just wouldn't leave.
so you indicate that Mr. Andrews was there. Was this someone that you knew prior to June 14th of 2023?
Did I knew him?
Yes.
Yes. I'm
And-
aware of him.
How did you know him?
He's just been a neighbor that's caused a lot of problems.
So does he also reside on?
Yes, he does. He kitty corner on the opposite side of the street.
So he approached you while you were in your yard?
Yes, he has a habit of following me, approaching me, talking about Jesus all the time, asking me if I don't believe in Jesus, if I believe in Allah or the Omega, and he goes on and on and on.
So when he approached you in your yard on June 14th of 2023, did he say anything to you?
He was talking about Jesus coming down the street, so I turned my back. I thought he was going to cross the street, and when I turned again, there he was.
Did you want to engage in a conversation
No,
about?
I didn't.
Let me finish the question
Okay,
before you answer,
sorry.
just so the record's clear. Did you want to engage in a conversation with him that evening about Jesus in your yard?
No,
Did you explain to him when he was in your yard that you did not want to have that conversation?
yes.
And how did you do that?
I just kept asking him to go away. He said, go away, I don't want to talk to you. I said, you should be over here on this side of the street anyhow. There's no reason for you to be talking to me. And then it went from there.
How did he respond?
He just kept telling me that I I need to mind my own business, and he was still upset over something that happened, I guess, a few years back, which I didn't know what he was talking about. Then he kept saying, do you like cameras? But he knew my cameras probably didn't have sounds, kept making gurgling noises at me, real quiet, and saying, well, I could spit on you and nobody would know, because we're kind of standing face to face, you know.
Other than these verbal comments, anything else happened?
Since that,
No,
Oh,
during
just
this
that.
incident.
Prior to that, yes.
Well, I'm talking about,
Oh,
I'm just, the only
No,
thing we're talking about
was that
today is
incident.
the June 14th incident.
it was just, he wouldn't stop, he wouldn't leave. He talked about Jesus, he talked about me being a bad neighbor, he talked about me knowing nothing about him, and that I should get to know about the kind of person he is, and
What was his demeanor like during this interaction?
angry.
Was he raising his voice at all?
Oh, gosh, yes.
And what was your demeanor like?
I was just tired from work. And I just had had enough by that time, because he's always over bothering me. And so I was just telling him back, you know, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to know you. Leave me alone.
Was your interaction with Mr. Andrews at your residence solely a verbal interaction that day?
What he kept going.
Okay.
And he says, I could spit on you. He's like it's in my face like this, real quiet. He said, nobody would even know. And went, really, really quick.
Did he actually spit on you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And
Landed on my,
that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Where did the
it
spit
landed,
strike you?
yeah, it landed on my upper calf, just, just below my knee.
And the neighbor that you've identified as Mr. Andrews, you see him present in the courtroom this morning.
Yes, I do.
Can you identify him for the
Yes, he's
record?
sitting right there,
Right where?
right there.
Can you identify what he's wearing?
Blue shirt, polo, and glasses.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant.
Record shall so reflect.
After Mr. Andrews spit on you, did anything else happen?
Oh, that's when my son came downstairs, because he still would not leave. He started to walk away, so I started to go back up my stairs a little bit. I had like this front step on the sidewalk before I get to my stairs, but then he came right back again and started yelling. And then we started arguing again, but he was really angry. His voice was really, really loud. I mean, I was getting upset as well, to where I was almost in tears. But I just wanted to leave me alone. I didn't want him around.
At some point, did Mr. Andrews leave?
Yeah, he left, he started to go down the street, and then he came right back. And that's like when my son had come out, and then my son was yelling at him, he was yelling at my son. My son was just walking him back down the street, but he still wouldn't leave.
But at some point, he left.
At
your
that
yard.
point, he left. Yeah.
Okay. How long do you think that he was in your yard when this incident occurred?
This all going on, maybe a good 10 minutes.
And do you have some kind of security cameras on your residence?
Yes, I do.
And did they capture the incident?
Yes.
Are you able to see that video on the screen, Ms. Ross?
Sure. Okay.
There's one person on the screen in the video in looks like a blue shirt and a yellow flower on
That's
it.
me.
Okay.
And for the record, are we starting at 33 seconds into the video?
Yes, because the first 33 seconds, and I think Mr. Kazicki's seen it, is just Ms. Ross spraying yards or
Okay,
weeds in her
yeah.
yard.
Yes.
The defendant doesn't enter until after this point. Ms. Ross, the gentleman who approached you, who was walking on the sidewalk that we saw in the video, who was
That's my
that?
son.
Who was walking on the sidewalk that approached you and began talking to you?
Oh, that's Walter Andrews.
And then later in the video, a second gentleman comes out.
Yes, that's what was my son.
Okay. And at what point in the video that we saw was that when the spitting occurred?
When he was standing, and I was standing there, because I went up a little bit closer, because he was going, I didn't really know what he was doing, if he was choking or something. So I'm a little bit closer, and he was doing, and he was talking about spitting, and I spit, he could spit on me, and that's when he was.
Okay.
It just was like, so quick.
And you indicated that it struck you in the calf,
Well, yeah, the front,
the front of your leg.
yeah, front of my leg, yeah.
All right, I have no further questions for this witness.
Cross-examination.
How long has Mr. Andrews been your neighbor?
I owned my house in 2009, and he moved in, I think, 3 years, 2 to 3 years later.
Okay, and ever since he moved in, you guys never got along, correct?
Well, the first time. we
Yes or
moved in,
no? Have you gotten along ever since?
I
he
had
moved in?
never had interactions really with him until a
Okay.
few years prior to this.
And what's the major problem, Mr. Andrews?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't want.
Well, you said he caused all kinds of problems in the neighborhood, so what kind of problems are we talking
Oh,
about?
he always films my neighbors that live next door to me.
He what?
He films my neighbors with his phone.
Okay,
Yes,
and you see this,
yes, I see.
and it's their
so.
crime.
I didn't say it was. a
That don't
crime.
pertain to you,
They
does it?
asked them,
Ma'am, that does not pertain to you, that he's filming
they asked
somebody
me
else.
if he caused any problems, so I'm answering your
Are
question.
you aware that Mr. Andrews is a registered sex offender on an incident that happened 30 years ago?
Yes, I am.
Isn't that the main reason why you don't like Mr. Andrews?
Doesn't make me wanna be his friend.
Yes or no? Isn't it? Is
I
that the
don't
main
dislike
reason?
anyone.
Ma'am,
for
Wait, one
anything.
second, everyone, calm down.
Please.
Listen, he has a right to zealously represent his client.
Yeah.
Ms. Brochus, but Mr. Gazicki asked the question. You can't talk over each other. Ms. Maudlin has got to be able to make a record.
Isn't that the reason why you hold this animosity toward Mr. Walt Andrews because he's a registered sex
No.
offender? Have you ever criticized him because you've seen him near or talking to children?
No, I've never talked to him about that, no.
Ma'am?
I said no.
Okay,
No,
all
no,
right. Now, on this date, you indicated you got spat upon
Mhm.
and it was on your calf, correct?
front of my leg. Just
Front of your
below my
leg?
knee, Yeah,
Okay. And you also indicated that when you seen him coming, you didn't want to talk to him.
that's why I turned around in the video.
But it looks in the video that you approached him. I mean, can we replay the
Yeah,
video,
we can
please?
replay it.
Okay, wait, hold on just 1 second.
Okay.
Man, before we begin, I understand you're on your property. You have every right in the world to be on your property. Okay, I understand that. All right. Play it, please.
See right there? I've already heard him coming down the street.
Pardon, say that again?
I can already hear him coming down the street, so I turned to my back. Is what I did. Oh,
Okay,
he just
all
walked
right,
past.
that's good. What else?
Do you want to keep on?
Yeah,
Okay.
shows, the video shows you walking away from the sidewalk even, right?
Yes,
All right,
I'm still doing, no, it's in
okay,
here.
ma'am, okay, can you play it, please?
Hoping that he was gonna go down the driveway. I turned around and looked. And he didn't.
All right, keep going.
Okay,
Okay, stop. It appears that during that time, you are, with your hand gestures, looked like you are talking to him, is that correct?
yes.
And you just said you didn't want to talk to him,
I just
correct?
kept asking him, I said, well,
And you
I
said,
don't
you
want to
also
talk.
said that you turned around because you didn't want to talk to him.
I turned.
But yet you and-
Mr. Gazicki, you gotta let her answer the
Okay.
questions though.
Yes, ma'am.
You
I
gotta let
turned
her answer.
around to look, because I thought for sure he would have went down the driveway to cross the street, since he lives quite, 1, 2, 3 houses across the street from me. Okay, And the reason I ended up turning around to face my property, because I already heard him coming, talking about Jesus and Jesus loves me and Jesus
Is there
loves
something
him.
wroong with somebody talking about Jesus?
No, I
and
went to
Jesus
Catholic
loves-
school for 12 years. I love Jesus.
Excuse me,
Nothing wrong
ma'am.
at all.
He's walking on a public sidewalk, right? It's
Yeah.
broad daylight.
Mhm.
And you make an issue out of the fact that he's talking about, you've said that a couple of times during your
No.
testimony.
He always tells me by my name. He tells me it all the time.
Okay, ma'am, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, the video shows you turning your back, so you wouldn't have to talk to him. Then it shows you facing him, and you are engaged in that conversation, correct?
Asking him to leave. I don't want to get into
Ma'am,
it.
please.
I mean, she's answering your question though, Mr. Gizicki.
Yeah, I'm just, to be honest, it's a simple yes or no. Are you talking to him or not? Yes or no?
Yes, I'm asking him to leave.
And you're asking him, he's walking on a public sidewalk, and he's got every right, like you have every right to stand in your yard, and you're telling him to leave your sidewalk.
No, I said, would you please leave? I do not want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you about this.
Can we play the video a little more? Just stop. In that conversation, you appear to have some distance between the two of you. Yeah, all right, would you play it some more?
And he turns around and comes back. This is when he comes up, and I kept asking him to go.
And you still shows you have distance between the two of you, right?
Yeah,
It shows that Mr. Andrews is on a public sidewalk, you're on your
Yes.
private property, right?
yes.
All right, go on, please. Looks like you're approaching Mr. Andrews.
I asked him to leave again.
Ma'am, it looks like you're approaching Mr. Andrews, right? I didn't ask what you
What I
asked.
am doing is I'm approaching
Ma'am,
the edge of my grass because I wanted to continue to spray weeds.
okay, would you please play it, please? It appears that as Mr. Andrew walks away, there's still a conversation going on from you, correct?
I wasn't saying anything. I thought he was done.
Your hands are
And
making
then he
gestures.
started-
Ma'am, wait a minute. It looks like your hands are making gestures and you're not saying nothing, you're just moving your
I'm
hands, right?
Sicilian, I'm always doing this.
Would you please play the video a little more? Tell me when he spits on you.
It's hard to see from this part. See, and I stay on my grass and he comes up closer.
He's on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and it was just
Okay,
before my
stop,
son
stop.
came out.
Has he already spat on you?
Yeah, it was just before my son came out. Cause he was all,
Wait, ma'am, I'm sorry. And maybe you don't do this, but it seems like common sense. If somebody spits on you, there's gonna be some sort of reaction.
what
And
the
it doesn't
reaction,
seem that there's appears to be a reaction.
what the reaction was at that time,
Could you back up, please, a little bit?
That I could not
Ma'am,
believe
just a
he had
second.
done
Ma'am, just a second.
answering your
Could
question.
you back up?
Yeah.
Before she walks up to him. All right,
Here,
yeah, from here.
okay,
Now play it here.
okay.
Okay. I see no movement from you at all. So when
Yeah.
somebody spits on you, you don't have any
The
reaction?
reason I had no reaction,
Ma'am, I'm just asking, you have no reaction, correct?
and I'm trying to answer you,
Yes or no?
I couldn't believe he had spit on me and what I had
You
done.
have
He
no
had really
reaction.
spit on me.
Oh,
And by that time, my son was already coming out and I was calling 911.
stop. So you didn't know if he spat on you or not?
I knew he did, but I was kind of in shock about it. For an adult to spit on another adult.
And this is your son coming out to confront him?
Yes, because he could hear him yelling.
I have no further questions, John.
Hey, redirect.
And Ms. Ross, when you were having this issue with Mr. Andrews in your yard on this date, was there any discussion about his status of whether he was a sex offender or not?
Not for me. He always tries to tell me some kind of story about an ex-wife thought she was gonna get money, so she put him on the list. That's what he has told me for years.
Did he tell you that on June 14th though?
He said something in that regards again. I just said, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to hear it. And then he was standing there going, He's like, I can spit on you because I know your cameras don't have sound. And you're like,
And there was no sound on the video?
no.
So from your perspective, whether Mr. Andrews is or is not a sex offender had nothing to do with this incident that occurred that
No, it
day?
has nothing to do. I barely go outside. I work, I come home, I come inside. I no longer sit on my front porch because I don't want any more incidents. I don't want him, every time he sees me, he comes right in front of my porch, all the time.
Mr. Gazicki had asked some questions of you of when the spit from Mr. Andrews struck you, why you didn't react.
Because I was in shock that he had did it, where he was making this noise. I didn't know if he was choking or what. And then he's like, I could spit at you because no one will hear me. The camera doesn't have sounds, and he just went like that, and out it came.
So there was no,
He didn't go push, like I guess someone normally spit. It was just like a little tricky.
so there wasn't a big head movement from him that accompanied
No,
the spit?
no.
Right, I have nothing further.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Can this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am, you're excused.
Okay, thank
Thank you. Are there any further witnesses? Ms. Manarino?
Yes, Your Honor. We would call Officer Mark here. Yes.
Ma'am, if you could just step out the hallway while the other witnesses testify.
We had a conversation.
Excuse my hair, Judge.
That's all right. Officer Markier, come on up. And raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
Okay, if you can have a seat and just state your.
Excuse me, just a second.
Do you mind yourself?
No.
I don't want to cheat.
See, I'll take your notes.
Right. I don't need that.
No cheating. Okay.
Can't read my writing
All
anymore.
right. Officer Markier, can you start by telling me your first and last name, your witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer, where are you employed?
The City of Taylor Police Department,
What do you do there?
a police officer,
How long have you been so employed?
2.5 years.
Were you on duty the evening of June 14th of 2023?
I was,
At approximately 6:09 PM, were you dispatched on a call?
yes,
Did you respond to that call?
yes,
Where was the location of that?
yes,
That's within the city of Taylor?
yes,
When you arrived, did you encounter anyone?
I did.
Who?
Walter, was it Andrews? His name?
Did you have a conversation with Mr. Andrews?
I did.
Before you talked to Mr. Andrews, did you know what had you spoken with anyone else about the incident?
I did.
Okay, who else had you spoken with before Mr.
I
Andrews?
believe her name was Bonnie.
Okay. And was Bonnie the complainant in the matter?
Yes.
And what did you discuss with Mr. Andrews about the incident?
I specifically just asked him if he had ever spat on Bonnie.
Was it your understanding that that was her allegation?
Yes.
And did he admit to that?
No, he did not. He denied it.
Did Mr. Andrews tell you why he was at Bonnie's property that evening?
I said something along the lines because this is America and he can do it because it's a free country.
Did he give you any information about any conversation he had had with Bonnie when he was at her property?
Not that I can recall.
I have nothing further.
Anything, Mr. Gazicki?
You didn't receive any allegations of Mr. Andrews going upon the property of Ms. Brose, did you? Trespassing?
No, nothing formal, no.
Okay, thank you. No questions.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, you can be excused. Thank you.
You will rest, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Gazicki, any witnesses?
Okay, Your Honor, I've advised my client of the constitutional right that he does not have to testify. He wishes to waive that right and take a stand, Your Honor.
Okay, Sir, you understand that you have a constitutional right to remain silent, and that if you exercise your right to remain silent, that silence cannot be used against you? Sir, do you understand that?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, Mr. Andrews, come on up. Sir, can you face me and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, have a seat. Mr. Andrews, you've got a light voice. You have to speak loud and clear into that microphone. So start by telling me your first and last name.
Walter Andrews.
And Mr. Andrews, you've been in court, you heard the testimony of Ms. Ross.
Yes, sir.
And you aware of the incident she's talking about, correct? I want to ask you a simple question. At any time, did you spit at or near or on Ms. Rose? You have to speak
Louder, we can't hear you.
No, I didn't spit on her.
What has been your relationship with her? Have you had any other problems before that date?
No, we just involved in conversation.
Yeah, now, there was I mentioned earlier that you have been registered 30 years ago on sex offense crime. Have you ever been harassed or intimidated by her or anybody in her household because of that?
Yes, her son attacked me 5 years ago. There's a police report.
You're not objecting.
Oh, that's, I just asked you a question, yes or no. If
It's
you've had
stricken.
problems,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Right.
have you had problems with Mrs. Rose, either verbally or anything? That she harassed you or intimidated you or said anything to you because of the fact that you were registered as a sex offender?
No, we never discussed.
Now, listen to this question, it's a general question from anybody in her household, yes or
I'm
no?
gonna object to the relevance of anyone else in our household.
Yeah,
How's it relevant?
well, the relevance is this, it goes to her credibility for one. You know, she says that nobody ever picked on him because of the fact that he was registered as a sex offender. And it was coming out of her household and she's there, you know, it contradicts what she said.
Your Honor, I guess I don't know that there would, not that it necessarily anything that occurs by anyone in her household is something she would have knowledge of though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be limited to her conduct, Mr. Vizick.
Okay,
Thank you, Your Honor.
and I have no further question.
Ms. Manorino.
And Mr. Andrews, when you approached Ms. Ross on her property on June 14th of 2023, you were there to speak with her about Jesus, is that right?
No,
So you never mentioned Jesus during that conversation?
yes.
Yes, you didn't, or yes, you did.
I crossed the street because I wanted to go to the gas station, okay? So the first thing, when I passed, she said, you're going to hell. That was the first thing I ever found. She first said that to me. So then I said, you know, I believe in Jesus, you know, I've made mistakes and I've been forgiven. And I said, I pray for you every day and you can't stop. That's exactly what I told her.
At any point in your conversation with Ms. Ross, did you discuss spitting?
No.
Did you make any noises like what Ms. Ross described during her testimony?
No, that's not true.
So her entire testimony this morning on that issue that you're saying is fabricated?
Yeah, it's fabricated. The only thing is, she said about talking about Jesus, sharing with faith, that part's true, but I never spit on her.
Did Ms. Ross indicate to you during the conversation that you had on June 14th that she didn't want to continue speaking with you, she wanted you to leave her alone? She never asked you to leave?
She never asked me to leave. She kept on, like I said, talking about that I'm going to hell and stuff like that, you know? So she's talking about my past.
And she never asked you to leave or just continue the conversation you were having?
No, no.
So you felt like that entire conversation with her that we saw in the video was something she wanted?
No, it's not that she wanted, but she engaged me. You know, we were talking and she engaged back and forth. But she never told me to go away, to stop. She never said, ever.
And you never got that impression from her body language or anything that she conveyed to you that day?
No, just that she was angry, you know. That's all I got from it, but she kept engaging. As you see, she turned away. And then,
What was your demeanor during this incident with
I mean,
her?
I was angry because she told me that I'm going to hell. So yeah, so I tried to explain to her, you know. Sorry.
Why not just walk on the other side of the street then if you don't want her saying these things to you?
Well, you probably don't want to see it, but it's on the video. When I go down my street to the corner, there's a house that's got a cyclone fence around it, and they've got these vicious dogs. And they bark. So when I was gonna go to the gas station, they were out there, so I just crossed the street. This way I could go to the gas station.
I have nothing further.
One question, you indicated that the first words that were said in your encounter with Ms. Bros is that she said you're going to hell.
That's exactly what she said. She said, you're going to hell. That's what started this conversation.
Do you have any indication, idea why she would say you're going to hell?
Yes, because of my past, you know, that her son engaged himself, or her son engaged me. It was all about that. It had nothing to do.
Oh, it was all, you gotta speak louder. It was all about what?
It was all about my past.
What happened 30 years ago?
Yeah, he told me.
I'm gonna object to the
The
hearsay
video.
for this on Sunday.
Hearsay,
The video I.
sustained.
So there has been situations where you've been, where Ms. Bros has made comments to you about your past
Yes.
thing 30 years ago, right?
Yes.
I got no further questions.
Anything else?
With what? No, no. No, everything's distance.
Okay.
Is there a video with audio?
No audio.
Not that I have, Your Honor. What I have is what I played for.
Everything's video, every camera is, you know, security type cameras, they don't pick up the video, the audio.
Okay.
May I say something?
No,
There's
that's
no
enough.
question you can ask.
Okay.
This witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor, I have nothing further.
All right, you're all set, sir.
Just wait.
Any rebuttal witnesses?
May I just have a second, Your Honor?
You may. Let's take a 5-minute recess on this,
Thank you, Judge.
and then we'll come back for closings and rebuttal if there is one.
It was clear that on June 14th of 2023, Mr. Andrews approached Ms. Ross while she was on her property. Ms. Ross testified that she did not want to have an interaction with Mr. Andrews and she asked him to leave repeatedly. Rather than leaving, Mr. Andrews continued to engage with her. And during their conversation threatened to and eventually did spit on Ms. Ross. And Mr. Andrews did not depart the property until Ms. Ross's son came out to assist him with escorting himself off the property. The spitting by Mr. Andrews did strike Ms. Ross as a clear assault and battery. Would ask you find it guilty.
Mr. Guzicki.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Andrews waived his constitutional rights, took the stand and denied all the accusations made by Ms. Ross. Also, what's peculiar in this case is Ms. Ross's testimony. She didn't want to talk to this individual. Yeah, she said she, you know, mentioned that several times, but in the video, it shows her she keeps going back to him. And at one point before this so-called assault, there's a considerable distance between the two. And this woman, wanting to have nothing done with Mr. Andrews, walks up to Mr. Andrews. You know, then she says that he spat upon her. There is nothing in the video that I could see that she flinched or made any kind of motion or even looked down to see, you know, what happened to her. Now, Mr. Andrews, when he testified, Your Honor, he was straightforward. He did not contradict himself. His demeanor was appropriate for a witness. Prosecution's got a heavy burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and I don't think they met that burden. Ms. Ross indicated that all this fact that he was a registered sex offender, that was no issue to me. But yet Mr. Andrews testified, yes, it was, because the first thing she said was, "You're going to hell." I know Ms. Ross denied that, but Mr. Andrews, there's no reason not to believe him. Like I said, he did not contradict himself. Your Honor, I think the prosecution has a severe burden. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If both witnesses are credible, they still lose because it's got to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and they have not met that burden. I'd ask for acquittal in this matter, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I would just indicate that Ms. Ross in her testimony did explain her lack of reaction due to the shock of being spat upon by Mr. Andrews. That clearly was not something she was expecting during their altercation. Ms. Ross was also consistent in her testimony that she was continually asking him to leave. And I think any continued interaction between her and Mr. Andrews from Ms. Ross's perspective can clearly be explained by the fact that Mr. Andrews was not leaving. He continued to remain on the sidewalk in front of her house where she didn't want him to be. Would ask that you find him guilty.
Okay. Court's heard all of the testimony. In this case, I heard from Ms. Frost. She testified on June 14th at approximately 6 p.m. She was in her front yard at 6641 West Point. She was waiting to prepare to put down sod. She indicated that a neighbor of hers was on her porch next door, and that Mr. Andrews walked on her sidewalk in front of her house, that she knew Mr. Andrews, and there had been some previous, I don't know that disputes is the word, but that he frequently came around, wanted to talk about Jesus, and she did not want to engage him, did not want to talk to him, but he indicated he could spit on her and nobody would know, and then he spit on her leg just below the knee, and then her son came out, and the parties began to, as we saw in the video, the son steps in between them. She said she walked closer to him when he began making some grumbling noises in his throat and indicated he would spit on her. It would not show up on the video, and there was likely no audio on the video. There was significant testimony about a prior conviction of Mr. Andrews that this court's not considering and has no bearing on the facts presented here today. Officer Mercure testified that he was on duty. He spoke to Walter Andrews and Bonnie at the scene, and that Mr. Andrews indicated that he had a right to walk on the sidewalks and denied spitting on Ms. Ross. We also heard from Mr. Andrews. He said he did not spit on her. He was crossing the street to walk in front of her home because there were dogs across the street with a cyclone fence. So we walked in front of her home, and she indicated as soon as he walked by, "You're going to hell." He told her, "I believe in Jesus and pray for you every day." He said he did not spit on her, and that she never told him to go away, and that she initiated the conversation. Ms. Frost then testified that she did not initiate the conversation. Neighborhood disputes or neighbor disputes are the most difficult cases because these people need to live near each other. There's no way around that. I do find that Ms. Frost was truthful. It was clear from the video that this did not appear to be a friendly conversation between the two of them, and that Mr. Andrews approached her while she was in her front yard. The video shows that he was certainly close enough to do so. And the body language indicated that this was not a pleasant conversation. The Michigan jury instruction for assault and battery is first that the defendant committed a battery. A battery is a forceful, violent, or offensive touching or a person or something closely connected to the person of another. The touching must have been intended by the defendant, that is not accidental, and it must have been against the will of the complainant. It does not matter whether the touching caused injury. And second, that the defendant intended to commit the battery. Testimony Ms. Ross indicates that he made statements to her prior to this that he could do so, and the video would not pick it up. The question is whether or not spitting would be harmful or offensive touching. It's not whether Ms. Bross was offended, it's whether a reasonable person would have been offended. See People v. Davis, 277, Mishap 676, 2008, which said that a victim's subjective emotion is not controlling. So Ms. Bross's lack of response, as Mr. Gazicki's pointed out, is not necessarily a controlling factor. You can see on the video that when the two of them get close to each other, Ms. Bross turns around and looks to what appears to be towards her home, which is where her son is exiting. The court further indicated that spitting or throwing urine in that particular case on a victim would be offensive conduct, regardless of whether an injury occurred. I believe the testimony of Ms. Bross was truthful in this case. I understand there are prior instances between the two of them, but based on the testimony and evidence I've heard today, I do find the defendant guilty of assault and battery.
Your Honor, just for purposes of the record, could the court indicate why Mr. Andrews' testimony was not credible and how Ms. Bross's testimony is?
I have to weigh the credibility of evidence. The mission and jury instructions on witness credibility are clear. I can choose to believe some, none, or all of what a witness says. And I believe that the testimony of Ms. Bross was truthful. And when I'm weighing the testimony of two witnesses, I believe that her testimony came off as honest. I think it was corroborated by what I saw on the video. And for those reasons, I'm relying on her testimony to make my finding, and that's my ruling. I don't believe that a probationary sentence is necessary in a case like this. Mr. Gazicki and Ms. Manarino, if you'd like to have a bench conference with respect to sentencing, I'm happy to do so. We can do an immediate sentencing, or we can send him to probation for a pre-sentence investigation.
May I say something?
No, this right now.
Mr. Gazicki. Would you like to have a bench conference and back?
No, I don't think there's a need to that right now. Probably about a pre-sentence report. I would recommend that. Mr. Andrew has a lot of redeeming factors for I think the court to consider and might be able to do it so here.
I agree, and I don't believe that the conduct was, while certainly not appropriate, it wasn't conduct that, in my opinion, would lead to a lengthy probationary term or jail term. I think a fine is appropriate, and a sentence that just has a condition that he, not interact with Ms. Bross.
You want the judge's sentence? No. You want them to go to probation, so.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Sir, you have a right to speak at sentencing, but I think first we need to make a decision as to whether or not we're at sentencing, and then everybody has a right to speak under the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Ms. Bross would have a right to make a statement. Mr. Andrews, you certainly have a right to make a statement. I mean, I can tell you that my thought is this should be a period of 3-month non-reporting probation, minimum fine, and a no contact provision.
Now, address prior to sentencing. If you want probation, take a look at all the redeeming things that you had, stuff like that, you can do that. And you also heard the judge know that all she's looking at is a 3-month non-reporting probation. That doesn't.
Ms. Frost, you can come on up to the podium here. Ms. Frost, defendant's been found guilty of 1 count of assault and battery. We're at the sentencing phase, and you have a right to make a statement on your behalf that you'd like the court to hear prior to sentencing being imposed under the Michigan Crime Victims' Rights Act.
Okay, I would like for him to stay away from me, not to come on my side of the street. Stop filming me with his phone and to stop following me when I'm going to my clients' homes to where I have to cancel or send one of my employees.
That all?
Yeah,
All right, thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome.
Mr. Andrews, and your attorney, you have an opportunity now to address the court, both of you. All right, Mr. Andrews.
First of all, I don't even know what she's talking about, me following to her clients. I don't even know what she does for a business. Also, I have a whole portfolio. I spent a year getting all this information. I also have a video where she, and there's voice on it, where she continues to follow me home. That wasn't even presented. I told my lawyer about it, and he didn't present that to you.
Was that on the date of this incident?
Yes, my neighbor took it. It's a complete video. They show where theirs is chopped off. They don't show them following me.
I think he's referring to a video after the event.
No, while it happened.
While it happened.
No, it's while it happens, the actual video, the same that they have. My neighbor took it and it shows them following me home and him Joe getting into my face saying, hit me, hit me, hit me. It's all there. And why do you rape children? Why do you rape children? And you're trying to say it doesn't have anything to do about my past. I don't understand why my lawyer didn't present that to you. I have a portfolio over there. Could you take 5 minutes to look at that portfolio about all the stuff? I don't know if you're familiar with the area. There's a bridge there. I help people that were in drugs and let them live in my house. My neighbors across the street, John Duncan, his house burned down. He's living with me right now. I'm trying to help him. I have indigent people that live in my home. And I can't believe that you would believe her. Just don't get it. Would you like to look at that little portfolio?
Mr. Gazicki, have you reviewed this information?
Yes, I did, Your Honor, and I did not, in my 40 years of practicing law, when you have 2 witnesses, a complainant and a defendant, for one, and prosecution has a high burden, that was not helpful. All that really transpires and shows 2 people together, part of the incident, and then in the after the fact, the son or whoever that gentleman is the one that goes after him. He was not part of the testimony. If he had taken the stand, the prosecution would have called him. I would have had that up there. But he was not a witness to the incident. If the court wants to review it or appoint him an appellate attorney so that they can review whether my strategy was inappropriate and was ineffective counsel, fine. But there was a lot of information provided that was not relevant. I tried getting some of the information into this court, and I was overruled by the court that it's irrelevant. It did not pertain. And that would be the same category as that statement, as
I have a tablet you can look at right now. It's got the video, it's got the voice, everything.
What voice?
About them following me, about him yelling me.
On different days.
No, that's the same day. It's the same day. That's my point. What? You know what, Your Honor, can I tell you
Listen, Bill,
something?
can you give me a second here,
Okay,
okay?
sure.
Listen. I'm very familiar with the area. I think neighbor disputes are very difficult. Listen, I have to make a ruling based on the evidence that I see in a hearing. That's how it works. In a trial, I see what I see. I see admissible evidence. Mr. Gazicki's a very competent attorney. In my experience with him, he's got have to have a way to get evidence in. I mean, there has to be a court rule that allows him to produce or provide this evidence and have it admitted into a court proceeding.
Why can't we do that? I have to.
I've ruled, we are done. We are done.
So-
But listen, I'm going to say what I need to say.
Okay, fine.
Mr. Andrews.
Yes,
Ms. Frost, the two of you need to stay away from each other,
that's not a problem.
period.
Yes.
I do not find that this, this is a neighbor dispute that went a little too far. All right, Mr. Andrews, I'm sentencing you to 3 months of non-reporting probation.
I never spit on it.
You-
Honest.
I believe that, and I'll give you your appellate rights in a moment, sir, and you have a
Okay.
right to appeal my decision here today.
Okay, that's good.
Okay,
Yes.
but you're sentenced to 3 months of non-reporting probation. You have fine of $20, court cost, I'm sorry, fine of $20, court cost of $20, state assessment of 50, and a crime victims' rights fee of $75. It's $165 total. You have 3 months to pay it. You must no contact with Ms. Frost. Ms. Frost, I strongly encourage you and your son not to have any contact with Mr. Andrews. Mr. Andrews can walk through the neighborhood. He's got a right to do that. He's a free person. He can walk down the street. He's allowed to do that. All right, but you can't, and Mr. Andrews, I'm not saying that you're following her to work. I don't know anything about that. I didn't hear any evidence about that. Okay, all I'm saying is you can't have any contact with her. You can't call her, you can't write her. If you see her outside, turn your head the other way and keep walking. Okay, and that'll continue while this is pending. And those are the terms of your sentence, sir.
Sure.
Okay, you have an appeal to circuit court can be taken within 21 days from the date of sentence, which is today, or is permitted pursuant to MCR 6.625 parent B. If the sentence includes incarceration, which it does not, an attorney would be appointed to represent you, and you would have paperwork to fill out. There should be appellate paperwork that you can fill out and request an appeal downstairs. And you should qualify for court-appointed counsel for purposes of that appeal. Okay, so 3 months non-reporting probation. You'll hear from the probation department. They'll speak with you and just let you know the terms. But the terms are literally pay $165 and don't have any contact with Ms. Cross. Okay, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we are all set here.